online and indeed on your wireless radio. Thank you very much indeed for your company. If you're just tuning in, we've just got the results of the second round of the Conservative leadership contest. We know that Femi Baganot's got 49 votes, Suella Braverman 27 votes, Penny Mordaunt 83 votes from her Conservative MPs, Rishi Sunak into triple figures now with 101 votes, Liz Truss got 64 and Tom Tugendhat remaining just in the race at 32. That means that Suella Braverman is now out of the race. She, of course, as the current Attorney General, had run somewhat on a kind of right-wing agenda during this campaign, certainly appealing to the right of the Conservative Party. She is now out of the race, and those 5 candidates will go forward to the next round of that contest, which we're expecting to take place on Monday, this coming Monday. But there is a whole series of TV debates due to take place this weekend, which will be fascinating between the remaining 5 candidates. Let's get the instant analysis now by joining our political correspondent Tom Harwood, who is live outside Parliament for us this afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Tom. Your initial thoughts on that result?
Yes, just looking at the numbers there, it's interesting. The order of the candidates has not budged. And actually, in terms of how far one candidate is above another, has not shifted particularly far either. Rishi Sunak, of course, adding a decent number, 88 yesterday, 101 today, so only around just over a dozen more people backing his cause there. And that's a similar number that got added to, for example, Liz Truss, who's up 14 on before. So actually Liz Truss gains more than Rishi Sunak did, although Rishi Sunak well ahead. Penny Mordaunt in second, strong on 83. Now that's up on what she was before, but it's still a commanding second place and less than 20 MPs behind Rishi Sunak. So I think really what today's vote has done is solidify those results from yesterday. It's pretty hard to see where Tom Tugendhat goes from here, to be honest, on just 32. That's only 2 more than the nomination, or 12 more than the nomination threshold a couple of days ago. Tom Tugendhat really not moving all that much, and he may well conclude over the next few days that he has relatively hit a ceiling. But in terms of those other candidates, it's going to be a relatively scrappy fight. There isn't a clear and away frontrunner. Yes, there's a clear order that has been cemented, but in terms of the percentage of the votes that, for example, Boris Johnson got in 2019 or that Theresa May got in 2016, they were far and away ahead by the first and the second ballot, and no candidate can claim that today.
Let's look at Penny Mordaunt, because in many ways she's probably had the best of the first round, and now probably the best of the second round, I think maybe fair to say. As in, she is cementing herself now as the second candidate in this race behind Rishi Sunak. In saying that, with Suella Braverman out, are we to assume that the majority of her 32 MPs would cross over to Liz Truss?
Well, there's a big fight now for the Braverman vote, and it's interesting. Liz Truss has just put out a statement, or indeed her spokesman has, who said that today's result shows that Liz Truss is attracting a wide range of supporters from across the Conservative Party, and the very next sentence is, Suella Braverman has run a campaign of which she can rightly be proud. As Liz set out in her speech, now's the time for MPs to unite behind the candidate who will cut taxes, deliver on economic change, continue to deliver the benefits of Brexit and ensure Putin loses in Ukraine. So a clear pitch there for the Suella Braverman supporters. Potentially Liz will pick those up. She has added a good number to her vote today, but also Kemi Badenoch not doing badly at all, adding 9 on her vote yesterday. There's going to be a scrap between Liz Truss and Kemi Badenoch in terms of who is going to be the economic reform candidate, who is going to be the very small state candidate, who's going to take the fight to those issues like, for example, the online harms bill, keeping free speech alive on the internet. All of these issues are going to play into what will likely be a scrappy 3 days in terms of who's going to be the change candidate, who's going to be the small state candidate, dare I say it, who's going to be the Thatcherite candidate.
And Tom, just talk us through how important these debates may well be this weekend, because we heard, didn't we, from Badenoch's team suggesting what they really wanted to do was to get her through to the TV debates at the weekend, that she would then shine, and that may well change the course of things. And we are going to see, I think, 3 of them, certainly 2 over the weekends.
Well, we hope to see 3 debates, but as these things go, the candidates are being relatively guarded as to whether they will do these debates or not. Now, we all remember back in 2019, Channel 4 hosted a debate that every candidate other than Boris Johnson attended, and indeed Boris Johnson ended up winning. There was a nice sculpture there to represent something to do with the climate crisis. I think that was probably something that helped Boris Johnson more than hindered him there. So it will be interesting to see which of these candidates go to these debates, what conditions they put on those debates. I've heard that a number of teams are saying we'll only go if every single candidate is there, etc. There will be negotiations down to the wire. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these debates happen and others do not. But what will be really crucial potentially is those Sunday morning interviews, is the big play in the Sunday papers. There's a long way to go, because it's not just Friday of campaigning, Saturday of campaigning, Sunday of campaigning, but also the whole of Monday morning as well. It's a late vote on Monday afternoon, evening, starting at 6 p.m, I believe, and that's after a confidence motion on the floor of the House. Might these candidates want to stand up and give speeches in that confidence motion? Might that convince their colleagues as well? It will be a fascinating day to watch, and indeed weekend.
Indeed, fascinating, and you know what? It is somewhat exciting. Let's not pretend it's not. It is quite exciting, at least for you and I, and a few other weirders down here in Westminster. But it's good fun. Tom, thank you very much indeed. Tom Harwood there, our political correspondent, joined us live outside Westminster. So that result coming in, as I say, in the last couple of minutes, that is that Suella Braverman is out of the race. She, of course, the current Attorney General, she managed and failed to secure the right number of the threshold vote of 30 in order to stay in. By the way, do get in touch with us. You know the email address by now, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or indeed you can tweet us at gbnews, particularly if you have got a candidate that you're disappointed maybe he's dropped out of the race, or indeed who you may well be backing in this contest. Do get in touch. I know a lot of you did yesterday. Really keen to hear your views this afternoon. We'll have continued coverage, of course, over the next hour or so here on The Briefing. Let's bring in Maria Miller, Conservative MP, who joins me also outside Westminster this afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Maria. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I see your badge, Penny Mordaunt for PM there. You must be pretty happy with this afternoon's results.
Well, I think it's been a good round of results for Penny's team, and Penny will be enormously grateful to everybody who's supported her in this round and previous rounds, not just in Parliament actually, but throughout the country. You'll have seen yesterday some of the grassroots polling showing that Penny was the leading candidate against all others, and I think there's been some extra polling done today with regards to the red wall seats as well, showing that Penny's appeal really is broad.
In saying that, many people don't know who she is, let's be frank about that, including lots of Conservative grassroots members. Is it true that she's also very untested? I mean, she's not served for a very long period of time inside the cabinet, and many people will question it's a big step up for her to become potentially Prime Minister.
Look, she's been a minister for many years, including some of the most senior roles in government, including the Secretary of State for Defence and at International Development. She's got really wide experience, including on the international stage. And with so many of the issues that we're dealing with now being international, whether it's the Russian invasion of Ukraine or indeed relations with China, her international development experience, defence experience will stand her in good stead. But really what people want now more than ever is a fresh start, and I think that's what Penny really brings into this event, and that's why I'm supporting her.
In saying that, we've got to the stage though with our politics, and we saw it this morning with Lord Frost. It's pretty nasty, this campaign. Clearly there are people out to stop Penny Mordaunt from succeeding in this. What did you think about Lord Frost's comments today, suggesting frankly that when she was in government she wasn't up to the job, he seemed to be suggesting?
Well, I think people will look at the facts, and that is that when it comes to grassroots membership, Penny has significantly more support than any of the other candidates. And with regards to Lord Frost's comments, I mean, obviously that's for him to justify. It doesn't really stand up to scrutiny of the Penny Mordaunt I know and I've worked with for more than a decade. Lord Frost obviously decided to leave the government, and you know, maybe there are broader issues there than just one particular minister.
Where is Penny going to pick up the votes from in the next couple of rounds? Because we would have thought, looking at kind of Suella Braverman's votes, they're probably going to go to Liz Truss on there. There's a real battle here, it seems, on for second place. But Liz has got the right of the party, it seems, on her side.
I think when you look at the breakdown of individuals who are within each team, you can't really categorise it that simplistically. And it's certainly in Penny's team, we're a very broad representation of many, many different aspects of the Conservative Party. And I think that is the appeal of Penny. She brings people together, she's uniting a diverse group in Parliament, and she's showing that she has that appeal around the country. And I think that really came through yesterday in our hustings, and will continue to be something which I think will be important to people as they vote in the next rounds.
OK, we're going to leave it there, Maria. Thank you very much indeed, Maria Miller there, joining us live outside Parliament. Thank you indeed for joining us this afternoon, supporting Penny Mordaunt, who's clearly done quite well in all of that. OK, we're going to take a quick break here on GB News. It is 13 minutes past 3 o'clock. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, though, we're going to have continuing coverage live outside Westminster as we bring you in the results of this Conservative leadership race. Please do stay tuned over the next couple of minutes. We're going to have live reaction from right across the Conservative Party. See you soon.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Join me, Darren Grimes, for Real Britain every Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m. A news hour that comes with a trigger warning. Scorching hot opinion with prominent guests saying the unsayable and a little bit of weekend fun thrown in. Unlike other broadcasters, I won't be forgetting what the B in our name stands for. So howie in for Real Britain Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
A very welcome back to GB News. We're live outside Westminster. It is just a little bit after 3:15 on this Thursday afternoon. The result coming in from the first round of the Conservative vote, Rishi Sunak in the lead with 101 MPs backing him. That's up from 88 yesterday. Penny Mordaunt is on 83, up from 67. And Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary, in third place, up from 50. She is currently on 64. So that is what MPs are doing. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is not just the decision of MPs, but it also is the decision of the membership of the Conservative Party. And at the moment, it appears that Penny Mordaunt seems to be doing pretty well in regards to that. Maybe a reason why the markets and the bets are all piling in on the International Trade Minister, even though, it must be said, amongst the general public and indeed some of the membership, she's still a pretty unknown quantity. Let's bring in Matthew Shadwick from Markets, who joins me outside Westminster. Penny Mordaunt, she seems to be essentially getting an awful lot of attention in recent days when it comes to the betting markets.
Yeah, she's odds-on favourite, Darren. She has ticked up a little bit as a result of the votes we've just heard. So she's up to about a 57% chance of ending up as the Prime Minister. In truth, this result was pretty much as the markets had predicted beforehand. With one exception, I'd say Tom Tugendhat's gone backwards. So he's done quite a bit worse than people expected. I think his race is pretty much over now. He's a 500 to 1 chance. Don't know whether we'll see him in the next ballots. But I think the key thing in the next ballot is going to be Badenoch versus Truss, and who can get most of those Braverman votes that have now dropped out.
Yeah, really fascinating is that there is this kind of somewhat battle on the right of the party, and it has come down to these two, given the fact that Sewell is now out of the race.
Yeah, so the odds right now at Markets suggest there's about a 60% chance that the final runoff is going to be Sunak v Mordaunt. 60%, not a certainty, but there is still a chance, I think, that if Truss or Badenoch can consolidate all those votes on the right, maybe, just maybe, they could sneak past one of those two favourites.
How big a market is all of this? I mean, you know, there's a lot of people around here who are terribly excited about it. I'm not entirely sure the country's on the same page, given the weather, but there is real interest in this, isn't there?
Oh yeah, this is huge. This is going to be one of the biggest UK political betting markets of all time. There's already been about £2 million traded on markets, on the next Prime Minister, next Tory leader markets. And I think by the time this is over, this could be up into the sort of tens of millions of pounds being bet across the country on this race.
Why do you think that is? Why has politics become kind of a bit of a betting game?
I don't know, but this particular event, I mean, it's been completely...
Because it's so unpredictable.
So wide open. Right, last time we had an election like this, Boris Johnson was a huge favourite going into it. By the time the first round had happened, it was pretty much all over. This time, we just do not know what's going to happen. We might have another 3 rounds of voting, so that really keeps the interest up.
It does indeed, and ultimately, at the end of the day, what is the actual thought process about who's going to win all of this? Where is the money going towards? Rishi seems to be the favourite amongst MPs. Is that the same with the people placing the bets?
Well, he's certainly favourite to get to the final 2, but the odds imply that if he gets there, he will most likely get beat by either Mordaunt or Truss or whoever else manages to get there.
Really fascinating stuff. Matthew, thank you very much indeed. Matthew Shadwick, thank you for joining us outside the Green this afternoon. As you may be over here, we have got Steve Bray here next to the Green, who, I mean, given the fact there are 1.5 million job vacancies across the UK at the moment, seems unable to find a job for himself. So if you've got one out there that might take him away from shouting over the rest of us, that would be terribly helpful. Do please get in touch, by the way, about your views. We heard there what the market is saying in regards to GB views at gbnews.uk, or indeed tweet us at gbnews.uk. We're getting these results in, aren't we, from this afternoon in regards to all of this. Frankly, we've got, as I say, Rishi Sunak in the lead amongst MPs, followed by Penny Mordaunt, who is taking up the second position in all of this. All I would suggest, though, of course, is we have got these TV debates potentially over the weekend that could shift and change the public in regards to all of that. Really going to be fascinating just to see how much of a factor they are this weekend before MPs return here on Monday for the 3rd round of this contest. We are expecting it to be wrapped up, by the way, by the middle of next week, certainly by the summer recess when Parliament rises for its summer holidays next Thursday. David Maddox is from the Daily Express newspaper, covers politics and has done for quite a long time here at Westminster. David, you've seen a fair few of these elections, haven't you, over and down the years. Just give us a sense of where we're at the moment. So whether Braverman is out, what impact do you think that's going to have on the campaign?
I think it's going to focus a few minds now, especially on the right of the party. They've been playing around a bit with it. It was pretty obvious last night that she was done. She'd fought quite a good campaign, but she was done. She probably should have tried to do a deal with either Badenoch or Liz Truss last night. And it'll be interesting to see where her votes go, because I think, unusually, most of her votes will go with her, with whoever she chooses.
What do you think of Ms. Liz Truss's launch today? Many people seemed relatively uninspired by it, so that might have been a little unfair there.
I thought she handled some difficult questions quite well, but the whole thing felt quite flat. I mean, if you look at, Penny Mordaunt yesterday, Penny had a bit of sparkle and pizzazz about her. She always has done. It's always been one of her strengths. But I don't think really Liz conveyed her strength, which is her experience and, a certain amount of gravitas. And she's done 5 cabinet jobs. She's done some really serious stuff. So
and she's got some big supporters, isn't she, even within the cabinet?
Yeah, yes. In fact, I was just talking to James Cleverly about an hour ago as the Education Secretary, and there's Jacob as well, and Nadine Dorris as well, and it's she should be getting more momentum, and the whole thing. I think her campaign is in trouble. There was some whisper about Rishi last night, but I think he's now he's over the 100 mark. He's probably.
You think Liz's campaign's in trouble?
I think Liz's campaign's in trouble. The pitch this weekend will have to be to the right of the party, to Sir Weller's, Braverman's people, to say, look, if you want a proper Brexiteer, the only person who can beat Penny into the last 2 is Liz Truss.
Which is slightly ironic, given the fact that, of course, Liz Truss didn't campaign for Brexit.
Indeed, yes, yeah. I mean, we have this weird situation now where the kind of hardcore Brexiteers, the European Research Group, are looking to a 2016 Remainer to beat one of 2 2016 Leave supporters, which, the world has turned upside down, but it often does in Westminster.
Where do you see this playing out in terms of the next kind of couple of days? I mean, are we going to see the others fall away now in a battle for second place between Liz and Penny? And I don't like putting people in this position, but where's your money at? Where's your thoughts at this moment in time?
My thought, as of last night, and it hasn't changed from this result, is it's now Penny's to lose. I think Penny Mordaunt is easily going to be the most popular candidate amongst the members.
Isn't the concern, though, that she might be a bit of an Andrea Leadsom candidate, in the sense that she's pretty unknown among the public and among the Conservative membership? She's untested. It's going to be pretty cruel.
She has held 2 cabinet positions.
Yeah. Pretty briefly, though.
Very briefly.
Yeah.
But unlike Andrea, she had held 2 cabinet positions. I think there's more about her. Actually, in 2016, there was a discussion between Andrea and Penny about which one of them should run, and they decided that Andrea Leadsom should run, and Penny ran that campaign. And a lot of us still think that Andrea Leadsom would have won that competition had she not dropped out, actually.
So are you a Penny for PM man then, do you reckon?
No, the Express is completely open. We are a platform for the leadership.
No, but I mean, you think she...
But I think it's hers to lose at the moment.
David, as always, thank you very much indeed. David McAdooks joining us from the Daily Express newspaper. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. Really fascinating, that, isn't it? That there is a sense that there is momentum behind Penny Mordaunt in this campaign. A candidate that, frankly, at the start of this race, beforehand, many of the public, or much of the public, did not know who she was, what she stood for. It's still true to a large degree, but clearly someone who in the coming days will get an awful lot more exposure. But with that comes the questions about what she's precisely going to stand on really topical and difficult decisions around taxation, around the kind of Brexit opportunities, but also big questions about issues around trans and other kind of culture war issues in regards to all of that. So it's going to be really, really fascinating to see if that momentum from the Mordaunt campaign can be kept going. Let's get the views, though, from elsewhere beyond that campaign and speak to Roberto Costa, who's a Conservative MP who has slipped in the carousel of guests here on College Green outside Parliament. Roberto, thank you for joining us. What did you make of this afternoon's results?
This is a fantastic result. Forgive me, Darren, my voice is almost gone because I've been on the media speaking to hundreds of colleagues and others about Penny Mordaunt's excellent campaign. This is a vindication of the fact that Penny stands for trust in the British electorate to restore good governance. And my colleagues on the parliamentary benches are recognising that, and that's why today Penny has received the largest increase of any candidate in terms of these votes. She's doing extremely well, but nothing is taken for granted. The whole focus now is on persuading some more of our colleagues to see that Penny Mordaunt is the candidate that, as I say, will re-establish good governance and accordingly restore trust in the British electorate. And we need to do that in order for the Conservative Party to win the next general election.
In saying that, many people, I was just talking about it just then, don't know who Penny Mordaunt is. I mean, they don't really know what she kind of stands for. Isn't it possible that as the campaign carries on, that actually she might falter? She's not been through the grind of politics like, someone like Rishi Sunak, whose past has been delved into quite a lot. I'm suggesting, do you know that there's no skeletons in Penny's cupboard, is there?
Well, of course, Penny has been serving as a British parliamentarian for more than double the amount of time that Rishi. I mean, she was elected in 2010. She's had 12 years under her belt. Rishi's been serving as long as I have in Parliament, for 7 years. And what I would say is that Penny has been in 2 cabinet roles. She was, of course, Secretary of State for Defence, a very important position to maintain the United Kingdom and its integrity. And she understands the whole of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. She was also, of course, in another cabinet role for international development. She's held other ministerial positions. But look, this isn't a competition as to who's held more junior ministerial positions or cabinet.
Because we're asking someone to become Prime Minister, so it's quite important. Having experience within government is actually quite instrumental, I would suggest.
Absolutely, and what I would say is that Penny has already got the experience to certainly match and indeed go beyond the other candidates. But what's more important than that, Darren, is her skill set, her abilities, her ability to restore trust with the British people. We mustn't forget why we're here. We're not here because there was a policy dispute within the Conservative Party. We're here because there was a lack of good governance, and that led to the collapse of Boris Johnson's government. And Penny Mordaunt is seen by Conservative Party members, as poll after poll is showing, that she can quickly regain the trust of the British people, and that's what's key here. Above and beyond any specific policy, everything must be underpinned by trust and faith in the policies and practices of the place behind us, Darren.
And just very finally, where do you think, though, her votes are going to come from? Because we would have thought Suella Braverman's votes will probably drift towards, most of them, Liz Truss. Where is Penny going to get those votes from in order to get through the next rounds?
Well, my message and why I've lost my voice is because I'm speaking constantly with colleagues to try and encourage them to see that Penny is the candidate for the Conservative and Unionist Party. She is the candidate for all the party members who are telling us poll after poll that she will be the best Prime Minister out of all the candidates. And I'm trying to persuade my colleagues to see that if the Conservative Party if it's going to be given another chance by the British electorate to govern our great country, the person that's going to be most entrusted with that responsibility to exercise power on all our behalves is Penny Mordaunt. And so, speaking with colleagues today, over the course of the weekend, ahead of the third vote on Monday, is what my colleagues and I are doing in Penny Mordaunt's team. And I'm confident, actually, that those that have been supporting other candidates who have perhaps not been as successful as they would have hoped, is to persuade the people that voted for them to come over to Penny Mordaunt and give Britain the chance of restoring good governance for all our sakes.
OK, Roberto Costa, as always, thank you very much indeed for joining us live outside Parliament here on this Thursday afternoon. Thank you, a big Penny Mordaunt fan there. What do you think, though? Do get in touch, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Maybe you're not a big fan of Penny's, maybe you like Rishi Sunak and his offering, maybe you like Kemi Badenoch and what she is offering, or indeed any of the other candidates. Do let me know what you think. You can always also tweet me at GBNews. Okay, the time is a little after 3:30 on this Thursday afternoon. Another important day in British politics, a day in which we got through now to essentially on the way to the third round of the Conservative leadership race, a race to decide who will be the new Conservative leader and the new Prime Minister of this country by September. We'll have continuing coverage from live outside Parliament in the next 30 minutes as we head up to 4. But first, at a little after 3:30, let's bring you up to date with the very latest news headlines and head back to the studio.
Thank you, Darren. It's 3:32. I'm Rhiannon Jones in the GB newsroom. Attorney General Suella Braverman has been knocked out of the race to replace Prime Minister Boris Johnson. There are now 5 lawmakers left battling to lead the Tories and the country, hoping to move on from months of scandal. The second round of ballots has kept ex-Chancellor Rishi Sunak as the front-runner with 101 votes, and Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt came second with 83 votes. Sir Graham Brady, chairman of the Conservative Party's 1922 committee, says further rounds of voting will continue next week until 2 candidates remain.
The numbers are as follows: Badenoch 49, Braverman 27, Mordaunt 83, Sunak 101, Truss 64, Tugendhat 32. Therefore, under the rules, Suella Braverman is eliminated from the contest, and the others are able to go forward to a further ballot on Monday.
Meanwhile, Scotland's First Minister says the UK is facing a shift to the right, whoever becomes the next Prime Minister. Nicola Sturgeon says independence is now essential as she launches a second paper aimed at making a fresh case for Scotland to leave the UK. Russian airstrikes have killed at least 20 people, including a baby, in central Ukraine. President Zelensky says a medical centre and residential buildings were hit in downtown Vinnytsia. At least 90 people are reportedly injured. President Zelensky has called the attack yet another act of Russian terrorism. Train drivers at 8 rail companies will go on strike on the 30th of July in a dispute over pay. That's in addition to a strike by RMT members on the 27th of July. The train drivers' union ASLEF is demanding a pay rise in line with inflation. TV online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy $1.178 and 1.183 euros. The price of gold currently stands at £1,441.97 per ounce.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Very welcome back to GB News and the briefing live here from Westminster. It's 23 minutes to 4 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. We're on TV, online and indeed on your DAB digital radio. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Just to bring you up to date with those latest figures, we've had the announcement of round 2 in the last 30 minutes or so of the Conservative leadership race. We saw Penny Mordaunt adding the greatest number of MPs, up 16 to 83. Tom Tugendhat actually going backwards in that race. He just met the 30 threshold that was needed, but he was down 5 MPs to 32. He's just issued a statement in the last couple of minutes because there were suggestions he was going to drop out of this race. Instead, a spokesperson says Tom is in it to win. He can't wait to set out his positive vision for Britain and offer the party and, more importantly, the country the clean start we need. So that is Tom Tugendhat suggesting he is definitely not going to drop out of this race. Now, let's get some more political analysis on what all this means, what we can expect to see next, and even some historical context. Let's join David Carley, who is a doyen, I think, of the political world here at Westminster. Very good afternoon to you, David. First of all, your immediate reaction to what we've just seen in this second round of votes.
Well, it seems to me that when you compare what the results are with what polling we've had of Conservative members, what strikes me is that the top of the poll is Rishi Sunak, and yet amongst Conservative members, if the polls are accurate, Conservative Home, YouGov, conducted amongst Conservative members, Sunak is down, and it's Mordaunt who's at the top, along with Badenoch. So there is a disconnect, it seems, at the moment, at least, between what the members are looking for in terms of leadership and what the MPs are looking for. But that's not too surprising. The important thing, I guess, is that for most people who aren't members of the Conservative Party, most of these candidates they know very little about. So
someone pointed out to me today that in 1997, 2001, wasn't it, and in 2005, the person who finished second amongst MPs actually went on to win the race.
Yes, and what I think is also interesting about it is, what is it, the people who are going to vote in this are not the people who are sampled in national opinion polls. It's about 150, 200,000 Conservative Party members. So that's the electorate, and that's the those are the people to whom these candidates are pitching their goods, so to speak, because they've got to convince them. They can be, everybody can love them in the city, everybody can take them to dinner parties in Westminster. That's nothing if the membership don't vote for them. And at the moment, it looks from the membership that if Rishi Sunak goes forward, as seems probably likely, then he's not going to be the next Prime Minister, according to the polls of Conservative members, which is in itself reasonably fascinating. And it may well be another proof of this second person leapfrogging over and becoming leader.
Just let's look at how this could play out. Rishi's now into triple figures. Where do we think the votes for Liz Truss, the other two frontrunners, and Penny Mordaunt will come from?
Well, I mean, it's a very difficult one to judge because this sort of election in this sort of context breaks down a lot of the old left-right traditional blocks between in the Conservative Party. I think it's more complex now. The party has taken a terrible beating publicly. Its reputation has been shredded. So they're facing Armageddon. So how do you react when you face Armageddon? What are you looking for in the person that you want to have as your leader? Do you want somebody who is going to make the membership comfortable, or somebody who's going to take you to victory? They're not necessarily the same things. So when those MPs, if the others drop out, either at this stage or later? Where do their votes go? My guess is that they'll probably disproportionately go to Sunak, but enough of them will go, I think, to Penny Mordaunt. And then it comes down to the members themselves. Are they in the mind frame to elect somebody principally who makes them comfortable, who represents what they feel most comfortable with politically? Or do they look beyond that and say, what if that disconnects with what the country wants? Where do I go with my vote? And that's going to be the interesting outcome, I think.
Just give us some historical context, if you can, here, David. You've seen many of these campaigns, I think it's fair to say. I mean, this is fascinating because it does seem to be so open.
It is, and one goes back to some of the historical context. I mean, in 2001, William Hague resigned after the terrible defeat of 2001, and across the country as a whole, there was no question it was Ken Clarke. He was one of the few remaining giants in the party. The public appreciated him. All indicators suggested that he would be the best bet. And yet the membership went for Ian Duncan Smith, about whom I think most people would acknowledge he wasn't particularly well known. So past history suggests that they can come forward with some remarkable people who aren't particularly well known. Tony Blair wasn't exactly a household name when he became leader. David Cameron wasn't a household name when he became leader.
But they weren't going straight into being Prime Minister. That's the big difference, isn't it, this time round?
That's true. But it is proof that individuals can come from obscurity. Of course, you're right in terms of Prime Minister, but they can come from relative obscurity to take commanding leads and win elections in a very, very big way. So for this set of people who are voting in this election, I think they'll be looking to the Thatcher example. 1991, the great Thatcher was kicked out effectively by her party, and this man whom people knew about but nobody was fantastically enthused by, John Major, went on to win a famous victory, totally unexpected, in 1992. So again, the parties can come and can claw back from the sort of abyss the Conservatives are in now and go on to win. But it's a tough call, and they must be looking for a candidate who can actually convince people they can do it.
And it is a tough call, and just very finally, David, because we are looking at an election. It has to happen within, what's the next 2 and a bit years, but probably spring of 2024.
Yes, and there's a lot of ground to catch up, goodness knows. They've had 4 victories in succession, which is up to the Conservatives, which is unprecedented for over a century. So historically, you might say, well, that's it, game's up. They can't get a 5th. And that may be how history turns out. But they have an opposition that isn't particularly successful, which is only in a sense shining because the Conservatives seem to be collapsing. So if somebody can turn that round, then I think it's going to be still a very competitive contest at the next election.
David, always good to hear from you. Good analysis, expert stuff. Thank you very much indeed. David Colley there joining us live outside Parliament. Thank you, David. Do get in touch, by the way, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or indeed tweet us at gbnews. Very keen to hear what your thoughts are on this Conservative election race. Let's bring in the thoughts, though, of former Conservative MP for Tiverton. That is Neil Parish, who joins us down the line this afternoon. Neil, very good afternoon to you. What do you think? It does seem that Penny Mordaunt has got quite a lot of momentum behind her.
Yes, I think she's, the race is moving now quite fast. I think, Suella Braverman's out. I think, though Tom Tugendhat, very good candidate, I think the writing's on his wall. So I think you're going to see a lot of votes shift now very, very quickly because, the members of Parliament not only want to choose the right candidate, but they also want to be seen backing the right candidate very soon on. So you're going to see a lot of members of Parliament move swiftly. It's interesting now to see whether Kemi can actually beat Liz Truss, but that's looking a bit more difficult again now. But I think it's fascinating because MPs like to line themselves up with the winning candidate. You see, this is what they're after. They've got to make sure they get themselves in the right position to be able to not only influence the new regime, but also try and get a reasonable job in it. So I think the race is really hotting up now.
It really is. Have you got a preference, Neil? Who would you, if you were still here, who would you be backing? Or who are you backing? I'm sure you're a Conservative member.
I think
still.
on balance, I would go for Rishi Sunak because he's had all the experience, and it's going to be very difficult to pull a fractious cabinet together, whoever they are. I think the party, has been out of control, basically, and so the public want to see us get back in there, sort the economy out, they sort the cost of living crisis out and give people real support. So that's absolutely essential. But Penny Mordaunt is also very good. So I think what happens in this race is that eventually, the two front runners now are beginning to really pull ahead. And so I think it'll be fascinating to see when all the other candidates fall out. Will it be, Rishi Sunak in the lead, or will it be Penny Mordaunt? Because I still think those are the two that are going to win, because the MPs now will start getting behind them very quickly. And of course, we have got to get back to running the country. I'm having a perfect life at the moment because I was delivering hens and putting them into a unit this morning, free-range hens for my cousin. You've got to handle them very gently because you want them to lay eggs afterwards and look after them, but also then come back and talk to you this afternoon about the politics. So I really feel that, we've got to actually get a leader that can really actually resonate with people. I was talking to people when we were taking these poultry in this morning, what do they think about it? And they really want somebody that they can recognise, somebody they can connect with. And I think this is going to be fascinating now. Can we rebuild ourselves from the position where we are, which is very poor, and people are very upset with us, with our behaviour. So I think a lot to be done, but I think the race is getting quite fascinating.
It is getting really fascinating, but also a little bit nasty in many regards, Neil. We saw Lord Frost on the TV this morning suggesting he wouldn't serve under Penny Mordaunt, that she, frankly, seemed to be implied was lazy in government, not across her brief. What did you make of those remarks? Liz Truss tried to distance herself from them, but ultimately it's a sign of how divided this party is.
Yeah, we really have got, we call it blue on blue, don't we? When you attack each other. And we've just got to stop it because public hate it. And you see, the trouble is we've had, I suppose we had such a bloody, wasn't actually a coup in the end, but it was the removal of a prime minister by very difficult means. And so the party must stop actually this because, they're all good candidates out there. They have a really good idea of how they want to run the country in the future. You shouldn't actually start destroying them. I hate people being called lightweights and things like that. And you're not up to the job. Penny Mordaunt is up to the job. I would say to you that all those candidates in the race there are up to the job. So stop briefing against people, for goodness sake. Get a grip with it because, we are in government. And as you were saying before in your previous interview, you've got to remember whoever takes over the leadership immediately becomes Prime Minister, immediately has to form a cabinet, and immediately has to get the cost of living crisis, inflation down, and all those things sorted. And that is why, stop bickering, get on with it, get a leader, and I think the MPs now, if they've got any sense, will come round to backing, I suspect, the two front runners, and it'll be over quite quickly now.
And Neil, just in regards to the current Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, I interviewed you, 10 days ago? Feels like a lifetime ago now, and you were saying you thought the time was up for Boris, and a couple of days later, of course, he did resign, didn't he? What's been the reaction? You're kind of a little bit detached now from kind of Westminster politics. What's been the reaction of the people that down there in the West Country about the disposal, if you like, or the resignation, the forced resignation of Boris Johnson? Did many people agree with you that they thought the time was up, or was there a sense that maybe the MPs here were being a little unfair on the Prime Minister?
Yeah, I think the general opinion is really divided. I've still got some really, in my former constituency, some really strong supporters of Boris. I think in the end, though, I think most people came down to the view that much as they liked him, They rated his, the big picture stuff. But the trouble is, he did have an awful problem in basically, coming to the truth. And also, he did seem to love chaos. And the trouble was, he largely created his own chaos. And I think that was, in the end, people thought, well, much as we liked Boris in many respects, and he does still, I got guys, digging out holes for a building. And I remember them back when Boris became Prime Minister, they were all talking about him. Nobody else, the people doing that, digging those holes, would not have been interested in any other politician. So, we do have to be careful as, he is brushed away. But I think most people feel now he's done his role. He must stand aside as quickly as possible and get on with a new leader. And that's what I hope. And let's stop let's stop fighting each other, because it is absolutely crazy, especially from me watching it now, knowing because what's fascinating for me is I know all the individuals. I'm not actually there, but I can understand exactly what's going on. Everybody vying for position, everybody looking to see if they can get themselves in the right place, and everybody now looking to see if they can pick the winner, all the MPs, because that's what they're after.
Neil Parish, as always, thank you for your company and your analysis this afternoon. Thank you, Neil Parish, the former MP, Conservative MP for Tiverton. OK, well, as Neil was talking about there, clearly a lot of voters are not necessarily looking at what's happening here at Westminster very closely, and the twos and fro's of MPs and the Conservative leadership race. They are focused clearly on the cost of living crisis, with inflation nearly hitting double digits, increasing concerns about how much fuel will cost this winter, and indeed how much it costs at the moment to top up your car at the petrol pumps. And our reporter Jeff Moody, our South West reporter, has been looking at the impact that the cost of living crisis is having on ordinary people.
Natalie and Alex came over from Ukraine back in May. For them, food banks are the difference between feeding their family and going hungry.
We have 3 children, and for us it's a very great support to get some food, because children are eating a lot, especially corns and milk and some vegetables. Chocolate, yeah. And because we haven't found any job here, we are looking for it. It's a very great support to us.
Support too for 135 families across the New Forest. Before the pandemic, the New Forest Basics Bank was catering for just 25.
You hope that our economy generally will improve, and that will help us. But at the moment, people are being hit from all different directions, and that's making life very difficult for them.
But help is on hand. The government is forking out £37 billion to help the hardest hit by the cost of living crisis. 8 million families could be waking up to a payment of £326 today, straight into their bank accounts, with the same again planned for the autumn. That's 1 in every 4 households. But there's a catch. The government wants to stagger the payment over several weeks so that the system can cope. So some households will have to wait till the end of the month before the payment drops. Other families won't get the payments at all. To receive the payment, households will need to have been claiming universal credit between the end of April and the end of May. If you've been earning during this time, your payments will go down. So too if you haven't received tax credits. And for pensioners, you will receive £300 if you qualify for winter fuel payments. It's a welcome boost for many, but Oliver Stanley from the food bank thinks there's no quick fix.
I'd love this place to be full of dust and mice, and there'd be no use for it.
Do you foresee that happening?
No, I don't. I don't foresee that happening in the near future.
For many, the near future is all they can hope for, and they're grateful.
And thank you, Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Thoughts of long term are a luxury few can afford. Jam today, but jam tomorrow is another matter. Jeff Moody, GB News.
OK, well, that is it for the briefing for this hour. There will be continuing coverage throughout the afternoon of that second round of the Conservative leadership race. Rishi Sunak very much in the lead, but the momentum may be behind Penny Mordaunt. We'll have continued analysis here on GB News. Do stay tuned for that. But from me, for now, have a very good afternoon, and we'll leave you with the weather. And as you can see, it's pretty glorious across most of the country this afternoon.
Hello again, I'm Aidan McGivern from the Met Office. Cloudy skies and some showers in the north today, feeling cooler here, but there will still be some warm sunshine in the south. The reason being high pressure remains close by. It is edging closer to the UK over the next few days, but around the top of that high, well, we've currently got cooler conditions, cloudier weather from the Atlantic, and some showers. Those showers on the heavy side in places, particularly over the Pennines, the higher parts of Scotland as well, but through the evening they die away. Clear skies in the south through the day, extending fairly widely at first overnight, but then another area of cloud moves in, turning things a bit more damp across western and central Scotland, Northern Ireland by the end of the night. 13 or 14 Celsius in the north, 11 to 13 Celsius overnight in the south with the clear skies. So not an oppressive night for sleeping, a bit more comfortable than, say, earlier in the week. A bright start, though, for southern areas first thing, and after any early rain across Scotland and northern England clears away, well, skies brighten here as well with a few showers developing. It looks like a sunnier day for Northern Ireland, 20 Celsius here, 24 in Cardiff, 27 in London, where it will also be sunny, but showers will keep it cooler for central and southern Scotland and northern England. And those showers continue into Friday evening before eventually it turns drier. And what's happening later Friday is high pressure is starting to build more widely across the UK. There'll still be some cloudier skies and some rain in the far northwest of Scotland, but otherwise clear skies across much of the country, and it's turning warmer, 16 Celsius as we start Saturday in London. Saturday starts off with plenty of sunshine as that high pressure re-exerts its influence across the UK. Still some rain in the far north of Scotland, but otherwise Sunday and Monday increasing amounts of sunshine and, more significantly, increasing temperatures.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.